and I'm Andy Lee, a pal of Shane's. But next to me are four of his closest friends, and we're about to get an insight into what Warnie was like outside of the spotlight. Starting with Dimmy Mascarenas. Shane played with him over in England. You've coached alongside him, Dim, and you've been inseparable for many years. We've got Aaron Hamill, ex-St Kilda Football Club great, a club that Warnie loved so much, and their friendship blossomed there. Sam Newman, ex-AFL star, media personality, and I think a love of mischief that brought Shane and him together. And of course, actor, comedian Glenn Robbins, who is also on the Shane Warne Foundation board. Welcome, gents. How are you?
Andy?
Hamill, I'll start with you. What would Warnie make of all this?
Oh, look, he'd be blown away, really. I think what he'd be proud of is, particularly hearing Keith talk, he'd be proud of that. He was certainly a loving son, but I think what he'd be most proud of is the respect that 55,000 people plus have come here, and it was his love for the public. He had a really good understanding of his responsibility, and he loved to entertain, but he loved the public dearly.
Yeah. Did he love the pressure? Would he love something like this?
Oh, he'd pretend that he didn't like it and he'd act all modest, but deep down he would absolutely love this.
Absolutely. Aaron, the best man job was shared by two people at your wedding. Shane Warne was one of them, which I think is a bold move because he can steal the limelight on any occasion. But how was he on your wedding day?
I think he was a bit more toey than what I was. I remember the day, really clearly. It was, and he's the type of guy that you need around in those sort of moments. There's a few emotional moments, obviously, that go with it. But I remember one particular moment, which is on screen now, that he came in and gave us a hug because he didn't mind a bit of affection. He liked to hug every now and then, and he whispered these words of support, as I thought, but he said, "Now, mate, it's not too late." And with that, Shane pulled out two passports.
Yours and his?
And he managed to get his hands on my passport as a bit of a gag. So, but he was like that, He always had that, just that willingness and want to see people happy, and he brightened up the mood.
He loved all sports, in particular golf. We all played a lot of golf with him. Dimmy, how was he on the golf course?
He was a good golfer, but he was always the most unluckiest golfer going around. It was always the worst bounce. Oh, how did that not turn in? Oh, it's the worst read ever. But also, he could also get pretty angry on the golf course. Mm-hmm. And there was one incident where he said, "Head," he used to call me Head a fair bit for some reason, I don't know why. "Head, if I don't hit a good shot here with this 3-wood, I'm smashing it." And he proceeded to top it 50 yards down the fairway and swung it that hard, smashed the head off it and smashed the golf cart windshield as well. The boys at the Capital Golf Club weren't too pleased with that.
Sam, you played a lot of golf with him. I've played alongside you. Both of you would bet a lot as well, which gave me hives because it just kept going up and up in the stakes.
I put a beach wing on his new house down on the coast. The greatest fun I had playing golf with him was arguing about handicaps before we even hit off.
Yes.
He said to me once, he said, "We're playing off the same mark." I said, "No, we're not, Shane." I said, "That's ridiculous. You're about 6 handicap lower than me. You've just parred St Andrews. You've had a hole-in-one at Augusta." He said, "You used to play off 2. I said, "I did. Back in 1985, I played it off 2. This was a couple of years ago. So we fought. It was one of the great joys of playing with him. I just say he'd be gobsmacked at this. I tell you what I'm finding hard to get over. The United Nations are part of this. Holy mackerel, I thought, that is extraordinary. He's actually infiltrated the United Nations and they are here. that is staggering.
He can solve it, right? Yeah.
I think we just heard from Shane then. He was trying to blow your hair off your head. He's going to get Sam if it takes me forever.
Yeah. Mind you, it is my own hair.
Yes, it is. Yeah. I used to play golf with him as well, and it was hard because he had such a full life, and he would tell the best stories.
Yep.
And he'd have photographs.
Oh, photographs.
He'd have stories. And things we can't repeat here. Yeah. And then, so you were just blown away.
You were.
You're going, I can't top that. And, you know, he'd say, Glenn, anyway, what have you been up to? Oh, I've taken up Pilates. It's pretty exciting. It's going quite well. But I'll tell you something, though. When you spoke to Shane, he gave you 100%. Mm-hmm. He looked you in the eye, and no wonder he was a great bowler. Because when I had something going on, I wasn't too happy about something, he would go, how you going? And then he'd lean to go, and how you really going? Something's going on. Yep. And he'd get it out of you. His intuition was so good, so caring, so loving. He was just a fantastic person to be around.
I hope someone has impounded his phone so that no one can see what was on it. We were treated to a cavalcade of incredible pictures and a round of golf in 4.5 hours, and your eyes, they'd be out like organ stops. It's extraordinary.
Very true.
For an old pensioner like me, mate, I tell you what, it was heart-wrenching.
Yes. He was also, well, he seemed to think he was on the forefront of fashion a lot. Jimmy, was he as confident as he looked he was when he tried something new?
Well, he was his own man, wasn't he? And he thought everything that he did was, you know, the most fashionable thing at the time. Whether it be, you know, suits or, you know, he loved his tracky pants. And when he found one pair, he wouldn't just buy one, he'd buy 10 pairs of them. And he was like that with everything he bought.
And talk us through the Peaky Blinders cap. We might have a photo of it here. He was committed to this in the last few years, and I think he broke the tees barrier. It started to become one with it.
No, he was committed, but it's horrendous. And his great brother Jace, we had a good chuckle about it. But there's not too many that could get away with it. Let's be honest. At Fox, he sort of rocked on in and thought he was pretty cool and donned it on, but he didn't stop there with it. He'd actually ring and say, mate, I've got this great idea, as he always did. And he said, I've just sent off an email to the producers of Peaky Blinders, because he was a binge Netflix watcher, loved it. I think it was teed up to be on Suits at some stage, but he certainly didn't stop there. So he's emailed, as he does, he can hunt numbers up and in his own way, and he got the email of the producer up there, and off he sent the email, look, I'd love to be part of your show. I'm a keen viewer. So he did all that. Then he rang back. He goes, mate, I got the email back. And I said, can you read it out to me, please? Because I'm intrigued, right? And he goes, Dear Shane, thanks very much. We love your enthusiasm, but unfortunately, porcelain veneers weren't around in Birmingham in 1931. But we love your support, so thanks very much. But that's what he was like. He was ambitious, he was driven, and he wouldn't take no for an answer.
Absolutely. He loved his cars, as Merv mentioned earlier on. He actually organised a Lamborghini for Hamish and I after we finished radio. We rocked up in LA and suddenly we just walked into a shop and we got to give it a Lamborghini, care of Shane Warne, and off we went to Vegas. But Newman, you loved your cars with Warnie. Talk us through that.
Shane always had this desire. I always felt when I got in a car with him that he used it as a training to be a Formula One driver. Some of his trips were, it dispelled the want to go to Disney World. There was more fun driving in a car with Shane than you would going anywhere in the world. We went up the Black Spur once to play at Cathedral, a very prestigious golf course an hour and a half away. And the Black Spur is a very windy and tricky road, and there's a speed limit of about 40k. And you think, how much trouble could you get into with a 40k speed limit? Well, some of the hairpin turns actually turned back on themselves. And Shane drove that car around there nearly at 40k. It is a monumental achievement to drive a car around there at any speed, let alone 40k. His plan and his process worked, because by the time we got to the golf course, it took me 6 holes to actually get my sea legs steady down, and he had blown me out of the water by then, and I think I added another wing, another balcony, another porch to the beach house by the end of it.
Obviously, we knew him for his cricket, but post-cricket life, his personality was so large, and we'd see him on TV and radio, pop up all over the place. Glenn, he was even on Kath and Kim.
Yes.
When he was acting, was he nervous?
Well, he was working with me. I'm Cal Knight, for God's sake, you know, Shane Warne, Cal Knight, pretty close. No, look, he was fantastic. He came on set, no entourage, just himself and Helen, and he turned up, and he was so easy to work with, had so much fun. It was funny in the backyard because he actually played a Shane Warne impersonator, good gig, and we had to play backyard cricket, and we had to make out that he couldn't play. And the problem was, even backyard cricket, he could play it really well. And so we said, Shane, play left-handed. That'll make you look stupid. Played left-handed, still threw the stumps down, took every catch, you know, absolutely brilliant at it. And then he gave us a personal lesson on how to bowl the flipper with a tennis ball.
Wow.
That was magical.
I can imagine. Hamish and I had him on the radio show a lot, half of the time because he just was up for fun, and the other half he was pushing some brand new service or product that he'd attached his name to. And I want to get the friends inside and a few of these. Let's start with the Shane Warne phrase. There it is there. Dimmy, how is he feeling about that one?
Well, he's looking... Well, he's feeling pretty good about himself, isn't he? He thinks he's pretty good. It's a pretty good photo, though, to be fair.
And all the proceeds of that, people might know that all went to charity. The emojis, people might not remember this, but the Warnie emojis came out at some point. Did he ever use them in a text message to any of you, the Warnie emojis?
Yeah, on more than one occasion, let's be honest.
Often. And you look at them and they're a reflection, aren't they? Clearly. He put so much time into them too, designing them. What do you think? What do you think about that? How's my hair? How's the wrinkles? All that sort of crap. Too much time into it. Yeah, but he loved it.
This, as I went back through the archives, was my favourite advertisement of his.
Ho seguito molte cose stupende con queste mani, ma niente di cose stupende come i piatti italiani che cucino con questi sughi Lego. Questo è pollo alla cacciatore. Rosola e pollo aggiungi il sugo. Ecco fatto. Che colpo, Warnie.
Did he often speak Italian to you, Sam?
He could well have. Particularly, I didn't go out that often with Shane. We're a little different generations, but when I did, I couldn't understand what language you were speaking. And spoke quickly and often. Could I just... I don't know Shane from cricket necessarily. I know what he's done, of course, but I just wanted... His attention, his meticulous attention to detail was never more present than on a golf course. I'm just happy if I can get the thing on the fairway for a start and then on the green eventually. Shane plotted every shot. I would just want to tell you this. We were over in New Zealand playing at Cowrie Cliffs. I'm with James Erskine, a friend of mine, JP Dixon Real Estate, who Shane seemed to buy a house and sell a house on every other given month. I don't know, he bought more houses and sold more houses than any person I've ever met. So we're on the 18th tee at Cowrie Cliffs, and Shane said to my friend JP Dixon, how far is it across the ravine? Because you had to hit the ball across the ravine, and he left his GPS in his cart, so JP Dixon puts it up and he says 175. So Shane selected the appropriate club and made a beautiful pass at this ball, and it didn't quite get over the ravine. And he said, 175 yards, he said, and JP Dixon said, 175 metres, Shane. He said, metres. He said, yeah. He said, I'm a real estate man. We deal in hectares and metres. He said, well, I play in England and in America and wear yards. Well, the toys came out of the cot. He had a conniption. He went into a rage, and we drove up the 18th fairway, and when we got to where the ravine was, he actually got out of the cart, walked down the ravine, got the ball out of the creek. He gets given his golf balls. I don't know why he had to. So we get back into the clubhouse, and the big settling time came as to. Well, I thought, well, we've cleaned up here because he's disqualified himself. He's had. And he said, no. He said, no. He said, your partner, JP Dixon, gave me the wrong information about the distance, and the bets are null and void. And I thought, yep, the only chance I had ever to take some money off him, thwarted at the last turn.
Guys, we could talk forever. Thank you guys so much for your insights. It's awesome on a really important week, and the tributes just keep coming in. Yeah, round of applause.